Hi guys. Okay, so it's been a really long time. How are we all doing? Long time. Yeah, so I had to take a pause because I had examinations, and that's why I couldn't continue on the review of the book. But then we're back. Okay, so to get to complete the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Some people reached out to me during the course of me not reviewing at all, and I appreciate it so much. I don't take it for granted, trust me. So we're just going to get right into it. I'm going to make this very short, and I'm going to consider 2 chapters in this video just to be able to catch up on the time that was lost. So I'm going to consider 2 chapters, and then we'll continue from there, hopefully tomorrow. So of course we stopped on part 2, chapter 3 of part 2. So in this part we're going to be talking about chapter 4 of part 2, and we'll talk about chapter 5 of part 2 of the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So the topic of chapter 4 of part 2 is an easy way to become a good conversationalist. An easy way to become a good conversationalist. So in short, the main thing the writer was trying to explain here is that the best way to become a good conversationalist is to be a good listener. Listen to what people have to say. So he gave an instance of how there was a time he was involved in he went for a particular event, and he was involved in a conversation with a lady whom he met, and the lady felt like she was very interested in what he had to say. So he said he had visited Africa, and so he was very interested in what she was very interested in what he had to say. But over time, the moment he said something that interested her, she was able to start talking about herself. And guess what? For the entire time they spent at the event, the woman was the one doing the talking. So what does that mean? She was not exactly interested in what the man had to say. She was interested in what she had to say, in getting to talk about herself, talk about her experiences. So what happened at the end of everything, by the time she was going to give a comment about him to the organizer of the event, guess what? She said he's a very good conversationalist. She said the man that was listening to her all through the event is a very good conversationalist. Do not forget that this man did not say anything. He was only actively listening to her. What does that mean? People like to talk about themselves. So let it not be about you. Let it not always, when you're in a conversation, let it not be like, oh, you just want to talk about yourself. You want to talk about what concerns you. Let people talk. Listen. Be a good listener. Listening is a very, very difficult thing to do. Actually, active listening is something that can be very difficult to do. But when you learn how to do it, you are able to get your way around with people and get people to do what you want them to do or what you would need them to do. Okay. Now, the next chapter for chapter 5 of part 2 is how to interest people. The short form that the writer was saying here is about when you want to interest people, talk about what people like. Talk about what interests people. So he talked about one very, very important man, okay, in the United States, Theodore Roosevelt. So he talked about how whenever the man wants to get into conversation with anybody, if he's expecting a visitor the following day, he reads about what that visitor is interested in before the following day. So when the visitor comes, the visitor actually thinks that he knows so much. He's widely educated, so he knows a lot of things. He's a learned person. But the truth is that he had simply made inquiries on what that person likes and read about that field that the person is interested in before the person actually came. So when you want to speak to people, when you want to engage people in conversation, talk in line with what they are more interested in. If someone is into botany, read about botany. If someone is into fashion designing, talk about fashion designing, study about it. If someone is into farming, learn about farming, learn about what interests them. If someone is into movie making, learn about movie making. What has been the progress made in that line? Something that interests them and makes them feel like you're really interested in them, makes them be able to relate with you, that you know the same thing that they know, you like the same thing that they like. And that is not about being fake. It's just about you showing the level at which you are being intentional about creating relationships with people. Okay, so I hope that was helpful to us. So we just covered chapter 4 and chapter 5, and we'll continue from the other parts by tomorrow. And see you. I hope this was helpful. Bye. Happy Sunday in advance.